This is the Uptick Network Stock Day Podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Penny stock news and interviews from the microcap world. Public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. With your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a returning guest. He is Laurance Wainer. He is the CEO of Blow and Drive Interlock Corp. They trade on the OTC under the ticker symbol BDIC. Laurance, thank you and welcome back to the show.
It's a pleasure, Everett. Nice to have me again here. I appreciate you having me again.
Hey, give my listeners a little update of what your company does and maybe a little bit of background of yourself, and then I want to get into the Q&A today.
Sounds good. We are in the criminal offender monitoring business. We do business directly with state judicial authorities or the administrative departments. We're currently approved in 10 states, and we are trying to expand into, obviously, there are 25 really good states to be in at the moment. There are federal laws pending that, could triple this market and make the laws federal across all 50 states. We're waiting for those to go through Congress, but basically, when you're in this business, you are dealing directly with the judges and the courts, the probation officers, the parole officers, and we're doing criminal offender monitoring, and basically all our contracts are with state authorities.
So, I know that you guys are in the interlock system for the cars, but did you say you're doing criminal monitoring system for people who are maybe in-house jail? Did you guys ever think about that?
Yeah, it's not just automobiles. It's also home monitoring for people on parole, probation, people from the child custody cases, those types of things. There's also commercial market for it as well. That we would like to enter into, small businesses that have a sales force or delivery force or service force out on the road with some vans or trucks or whatever the case might be. And there is a commercial market for it as well for driver safety programs that, reduce many parts of a business's insurance, anywhere from workers' comp to the automobile insurance to general practice insurance. But you have to take one step at a time, and what we're doing is working with the criminal offender monitoring before we get into the alcohol detection into the commercial market. We're trying to, fulfill the demand we have in the one market already. So yeah, it's more than just in-vehicle DUI monitoring. There's additional home monitoring as well. And as far as, ankle bracelet and that type of thing is definitely something we intend to get into in the future.
Last time that you and I spoke, you guys were approved in about 6 or 7 states. So where does BDIC stand now and as far as approval in states?
We're now approved in 10 states. Anybody who's interested has been watching BDIC probably knows that we received a contract out of New York. We're one of only 6 companies to be able to service the state of New York for the next 3 years. So it's a very limited and exclusive market. We have some other markets where, we're limited number of vendors in that market, like Kentucky. There's only 5 companies limited to Kentucky that are sanctioned by the state to do this type of monitoring. And we're currently approved in 10 states. I was just out in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Tennessee, meeting with all the judicial authorities out in those states. We just got approved in Pennsylvania. It seems like it'll be a very, very lucrative state. It's very, very large. They've just passed some very strict laws for all first-time DUI offenders, including people convicted of smoking cannabis or any kind of substance abuse would be under these types of sanctions now in Pennsylvania. We feel like it's going to be a very, very lucrative market for us. It's a very large state, and in addition with the New York state, it'll give us a real strong presence in that northeast region.
Absolutely.
As we hope to expand into Virginia, Maryland, and other surrounding states, New Jersey, etc.
My guest today is Laurance Wainer. He is the CEO of Blow and Drive Interlock Corp. They trade on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol BDIC. Now, you guys have been in the New York market now, what, for a month or 2 months? Do we have any revenues? Can you give us an update of how that's going?
No, we just got approved, Everett, in the New York market. That was a process that's just been approved. The actual service contract we're not allowed to begin servicing till August. So next week we should begin getting our infrastructure together out there in New York. We've just been approved recently, so we're not quite. Also. We have capital constraints on the demand. We have a tremendous demand for the equipment that we do have. We do have 500 units as assets that we have purchased, manufactured, and have them out on the road generating revenue. But the more states we get approved in, the more demand we have and the more capital constraints we have on trying to build that additional equipment. So we're trying to get a capital to help us manufacture 5, 10, 15,000 of these units that we believe is the ultimate demand out there. But that takes money, and I don't want to take any toxic convertible notes. I've been offered a lot of that.
Absolutely.
But I just find that very detrimental to shareholders, and I refuse to take any kind of toxic debt. So struggling to get the capital I require to reach the demand that we have. So we're constantly telling people we're sold out, which hurts me. But eventually I feel once we, this is kind of like making $10 million, right? It's the first million that's the toughest. So in this case, it's the first 1,000 or 2,000 units is going to be the toughest until we can get in a position where our reoccurring billing allows us to self-capitalize with money that doesn't that's not a detriment to shareholders, and I feel like we can struggle through that. As I said, we're already at 500 units. I believe we'll rapidly get to that. I believe that the capital that we need to get to that additional 500 or additional 1,000 units to get us to that 1,000 or 2,000 level, which would allow us to self-capitalize, is something that we'll be able to accomplish shortly. It's just it's a bit of a struggle when you're young and new, and people will give you money, but terms aren't always necessarily terms you'd want to take. So.
Well, you bring up a very good point, and I do want to talk about sales a little bit, and I want to talk about your model today. I love your model, and correct me if I'm wrong. When you place these interlock systems in these cars, you guys have ongoing residuals. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And right now, would you say we have 400 or 500 models out right now?
We have 500 units generating reoccurring revenue right now. Our reoccurring revenue is just topped over $20,000 a month in billing. So that's where we're at, but we have no units on the floor. So that's the struggle that we're facing, is we need to manufacture additional units. We obviously also have, an overhead of running the business. It's also expensive to, publicly traded companies, not an easy thing to run without money. So although we're cash flow positive as far as from an operations point of view, we still need additional capital to, build 5,000, 10,000 of these units that we're pretty certain we can get out there doing the same thing, generating reoccurring billing. And like if you look at any of the if you look at some of the established competitors that we have in this business, they're $100 million private companies.
Absolutely.
That we feel like we can get to that level, but we're young and we have to struggle through this initial capital challenge that we have.
You brought up something very interesting a little while ago, and I do want to bring that out to the front. You guys have very little, if not any, toxic debt on the books. That's outstanding for an OTC company.
We have none because I refuse to take any.
I mean, that's the big killer for most of these companies on the OTC QB and the QX and also the pink sheets, is the toxic debt.
Yeah, I believe, I mean, I feel strongly about it, that I feel it's very detrimental to shareholders when CEOs take on toxic debt like that with, terms that are very uncertain and very manipulative in this type of market. And I feel like if we just struggle through the beginning part of it and, avoid that toxic type of debt financing, we'll eventually be able to uplist and and gain some better credibility and move to a better marketplace. But yes, I do believe that it is hurting the reputation of the marketplace that we're in, and it hurts companies that are trying to honor their shareholders' loyalty and not put them in that position where there's this toxic convertible debt that gets dumped.
Well, I definitely applaud you for that, Laurence. So well done. Hey, let's talk about the conference in Tennessee that you went to. Anything great came out of that?
It's an amazing experience to go out there and be there with the administrators, and you really get an insight into how they make these laws, and they're very open to hearing how they can be of assistance to the vendors, and they basically understand that we all have to work as a team. The vendors and the state administrators all need to work as a team to make the programs work for the state, so that the state understands where people are at as far as the reporting, the software, that it's properly done, and everybody's doing a quality job, and you're keeping the roads safe, and those people that are under home monitoring are properly monitored, and the information properly conveyed to the judges. And they understand that it's all a team effort. If their vendors do a good job, then they get less complaints too, because they if their program doesn't work properly, then people complain to them as well. So it's they understand it's a team effort, and basically it was very nice. Smart Starts there, and Toxalock is there, and a lot of policy and different discussions take place in that rooms, and we feel like it's very beneficial to make sure we go to as many of those conferences as we possibly can, meet as many of those state administrators as we can, get to those judges' conferences, show them the quality of our software, so those judges that do have the discretion to determine which company they're going to go with can get a feel for. We believe we have top of the line, second to none reporting software for the state authority. So when it comes to them, that's what they care most about, is the reporting, the data, and that they have full information on the people that they've let out of incarceration and back into society, but they want to know exactly what's going on and make sure that's being done properly.
Where do you see the company at? We're coming into the end of the third quarter here, getting ready to start the fourth quarter here in a couple of months. Where do you see yourself in 24 months?
Well, I know we have incredible demand for our product. I know that we are barely scratching the surface of what the market demands. Again, it's only a question of access to the right to the right capital. Like I said, under the terms that I can live with, that I don't feel is detrimental to our shareholders. And I feel like, the great thing about this business is, as you said, it's just a question of getting to that number, whether that number is 1,000 units or 2,000 units.
Absolutely.
At some point, we will be able to self-capitalize the demand that we have without taking on any debt or giving up any equity once we hit those numbers. And right now, like I said, we're at 500. I believe we're well on our way to having 1,000 units out by the end of the year. I'm certain that we'll have 1,100 units or more on the road by the end of the year. And I feel like we can put out as many as 30,000 of these units if Alyssa's law, which is federal legislation currently pending in Congress, does pass. And it'll make these mandatory laws similar to what Pennsylvania just passed, mandatory in all 50 states. It'll, explode this market fivefold, and then we have to get approved in all 50 states. If you take our competitors like LifeSafer and Toxalock, they're, for all intents and purposes, approved in all 50 states, where we're approved in 10, and have only really have and are only active in really 5 because of our capital constraints. If we had more money, we would, basically do a better job expanding our infrastructure in those additional states that we're approved in, But there's no point in setting up the infrastructure if we can't build the equipment.
Absolutely.
I do have this challenge of making sure we access capital, but again, I don't want to take on capital that I feel is going to hurt us. If I feel like we just have to struggle through and get where we're going on our own, we'll just have to do that then.
My guest today is Laurance Wainer. He is the CEO of Blow and Drive Interlock Corp. They trade on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol BDIC. In closing, Laurance, is there anything that you and I didn't get a chance to talk about that you would like to get out to the listeners?
Well, I just feel like if the listeners, do give us some support, we will not dust them down. We will build a nationwide interlock company. It is not. It is like Rome. It wasn't built overnight. This is a 3 to 5 year project. But we feel if you get behind us, we could potentially be a company worth $100 million, just like our biggest competitors are. And we feel like we have better technology, better software, and the word is spreading fast, and we feel like we can get to those levels, relatively quickly in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We feel like we could be worth a $100 million company. There's been a lot of consolidation in this industry. If you do your due diligence, you'll see that, companies have been bought out for close to $100 million in the last couple of years. And we feel like we could be a takeover target once we reach certain levels where it's not too premature. And anybody is a shareholder, I'd like to thank them for their support.
Absolutely. Blow and Drive Interlock Corp has been our company today, and our guest is Laurance Wainer. Laurance, thank you for coming back on the show. We do appreciate it. We're going to check back with you in a couple of months, and I do wish you the best.
It's a pleasure, Everett. Thanks for having me on again.